Oh, baby. Woo, we got 10 games. We got a big old slate. Only 2 times this preseason. There's only 3 weeks. Kind of forward the Hall of Fame. But we have 10 games. And we've got it. And I currently have 34 pages of notes for every single player that will mean a damn in this game. Whether they're hurt, whether they're not, what is their status, how long will they play, what the hell did they do in college? Oh, they were a safety in college, and they're trying to play running back for the first time? Probably shouldn't play that guy. You will know if you have the Patreon tiers down below. And I'll be referencing some of that right now during this video, position by position. Why don't we, ladies and gentlemen, fellas, look at this fucking shirt. How you doing today? Hit the like if you enjoy this video at some point. And by the way, I greatly appreciate all of you. I hope you're having a lovely start to your weekend. Football, a whole 10 game slate. Let's start with the quarterback position. And we'll start with the first guy today on a team where they're only likely to play 2 quarterbacks. The Hall of Fame quarterback, or to be soon to be Hall of Fame quarterback, is not going to play. And Kirk Benkert's their other guy. And to take the majority of the snaps, I'm projecting 2.5 to 3 quarters for Jordan Love, a man that they did not get to see last preseason, a man that they've been dying to see for now a year and a half what he can do in an actual NFL game, albeit the preseason. He's going to get a lot of run. And he's a mobile quarterback, which gives you even more upside. Jordan Love is going to profile out as potentially the best quarterback play in the slate. And now there's a lot of really good options, and we'll get to them. But Jordan Love, for me, if only 2 quarterbacks are playing, I'm giving him close to 3 quarters of play, if not 3. It's hard to pass it up when you factor in the nice mobility upside. And now there's like 5 or 6 quarterbacks that really stand out. And then there's another 5 or 6 who, you know, they're veterans. They're going to play 1.5 to 2 quarters, maybe not more than that compared to Jordan Love and some of these other guys. But there's a lot of guys in play. To see exactly how these guys end up ranking for me, especially because when you're watching this now, a lot more news is going to come out, believe it or not, over the next few hours. And I'm going to be traveling. I'm going to be updating the tiers on Patreon, but I won't be able to do a live stream. So as we discussed Marvin Hall in the video the other day, and then on the live stream and in the Patreon tiers, live stream on YouTube, I said, hey, it seems like he's going to just play mainly special teams. Don't play him. And you probably shouldn't have, so hopefully you didn't. But the next guy I want to talk about is Justin Fields, the rookie in Chicago. They said, and this was the quote from Matt Nagy, he basically said that he expects him to take the bulk snaps for quarterback, come in after Andy Dalton, who's going to play about a series, a half a quarter in the first quarter, and then play the rest of the first half, that's a quarter and a half, and some into the second. So 2 to 2.5 quarters, maybe similar to what we saw at a Mac Jones the other night for the Patriots. Justin Fields, elite quarterback prospect with nice mobility. Not insane mobility, but nice mobility, similar to Jordan Love. I think Love gets more concrete playing time on paper, but another elite option. And Justin Fields is going to be one player to break Twitter, I can imagine, Jordan Love to some extent. But the guy who's really going to break it is Trey Lance, who everybody's jumping up and down about. And Kyle Shanahan came out and said, Jimmy G in the starting offense is going to play 1 drive, a half of a quarter. Now, he hasn't been the most honest coach during this offseason, but let's take him for his word here. And then he said Trey Lance after that is going to play about 30 snaps. So I take that as close to 2 quarters. I mean, 30 snaps is more than likely 3 to 4 drives. That's about 2 quarters of play for a great mobile quarterback who we already know in camp. They're putting so many running quarterback option plays, quarterback draw plays in there for him. That's a lot of upside. I mean, in 2 quarters, he could easily see 30 to 40 plus rushing yards. So those guys stand out. The rookies and Jordan Love, the second-year player who really hasn't played much. Might as well call him a rookie. But this guy he's a veteran now. He's been a backup for the Ravens his whole career. He balled out in the 2019 preseason. Former Penn State Big Ten champion. Lost in the Rose Bowl to Sam Darnold. Threw a pick. What are you going to do? Trace McSorley. He was the all-star quarterback in 2019 preseason. 90 attempts, 533 passing yards, 4 touchdowns passing. And then he had 47 yards because he's a mobile quarterback and a touchdown on the ground. So 5 total touchdowns. He's fantastic. Lamar Jackson's still in the COVID list, not expected to play. That leaves Tyler Huntley and Trace McSorley. I expect Trace McSorley to play the first half, maybe a little bit more. Tyler Huntley, he was good in college, 10.3 yards per attempt. He was pretty nice, 34.3 rushing yards per game. He is also in play for me. Both these guys look strong. They both probably play around a half of football. And now the final guy I want to talk about, and then there's like another 6 or 7. You have both of the Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill battle. They're expected to play like a quarter and a half each. You have the Denver battle between Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater. Not the greatest quarterbacks, going to play about a quarter and a half each. I think you have better upside with some of the guys I've already mentioned. Devlin Hodges should play a decent amount. Marcus Mariota, Tua is going to play a decent amount. These are all guys in play. They'll be somewhere in the tiers. But the final guy I'll talk about is somebody you're probably not as familiar with. And that man's name is Bryce Perkins. Look, Stafford is not going to play, and this is on the Rams. Wolford, their backup's not going to play. That leaves Devlin Hodges, who we've seen with Pittsburgh, has some mobile upside. So he's in play, but I like Bryce Perkins. Why? Well, he was averaging college as a passer, decent, 7.1 yards per attempt, but he averaged 99.5 rushing yards per game, and he's probably going to play about a half, the whole second half of football in this one. And he was a solid passer at 65% accuracy rating. That's not bad. So a decent college prospect, a 2020 undrafted free agent with elite mobile upside. This is a guy who is going to profile out in this game for very similar usage, if not more, to Trey Lance and Justin Fields, but doesn't have as flashy of a name, and he'll play the second half against worse competition. So Bryce Perkins, likely lower owned than the Jordan Loves, the Trey Lances, the Justin Fields, massively less owned than those guys, but similar fucking upside. Don't forget the name. We head over to the running backs now. In this running back list, I mean, we need more news over the next 12 to 24 hours. I've got about 20 running backs potentially in play. 6 or so stand out for me, but there's a lot that are going to be in play depending on what comes for some injury news upcoming and any beat reports that come out. The first one we could talk about is the running back 3 battle in Green Bay. We're not expecting Aaron Jones dealing with a hamstring to play or A.J. Dillon that much. That leaves 7th round pick Kylin Hill, Patrick Taylor, an undrafted free agent, and 6th round pick in 2019 Dexter Williams. Williams had 20 carries in the 2019 preseason as a rookie. And they just want to see what they had in him. I expect a lot of touches for Kylin Hill. He was a 7th rounder this past year, one of the last picks in the NFL draft. He carried a large workload of 200 plus touches in 2019 at Mississippi State, 67 catches in 40 games. I like Kylin Hill a good amount. Patrick Taylor and Dexter Williams in this backfield also in play. If any news comes out from the beat reporters, we will update that and reflect them higher in the tiers over on Patreon, which again, you should check out down below, because if you don't have it, and I've already got like $1,000 in play and player props for this slate from getting the props really early before the numbers move. All that stuff we talk about in the Discord, the tiers, the ranks. Check it out on Patreon. Would love to have you in the community. We also have an NFL optimizer, a lot of other stuff. You can see it all down below. Next up for me is going to be Justice Hill. We're not expecting J.K. Dobbins or even Gus Edwards, who they gave a $10 million extension to play much in this game. So that does not leave much on this roster. It leaves a 2021 undrafted free agent, a 2020 undrafted free agent, and then it leaves a guy who actually has draft capital, a 4th round pick who looked decent when he got some run last year, in Justice Hill. And Justice Hill in the 2019 preseason saw a good amount of run. He saw 27 attempts. He saw 5 targets on 36 routes run. I think you see Justice Hill get a good amount of usage, who had 49 catches in 36 college games. Not to mention last year had a pretty nice game when they were down some bodies during the NFL regular season. So Justice Hill from Baltimore, another running back option for you. And this is a guy now that we already have verification on that he's going to see a lot of the workload, and it makes sense because odds are he's not making the roster. They have Ronald Jones, they have Leonard Fournette, they have Giovanni Bernard. I would say Fournette was a cut candidate, but they literally re-signed him this offseason. So Giovanni Bernard apparently is going to be in an offense the way that they're using him in the playbook to maybe catch 40 to 50 fucking balls this year. So yeah, that leaves Keyshawn Vaughn, the 2020 3rd rounder from last year, 5'10" and 214 pounds, has solid speed. If they carry only 3 running backs, it leaves him the odd man out. So he's going to get a lot of run in this game is what beat reporters are saying. And he caught 56 balls in his 46 college games. He had a strong college career. He's just buried on a depth chart, unfortunately for him. This is his time to shine. That man, his name is Keyshawn Vaughn. And now there's a pretty interesting backfield happening right now in New York Giants camp. Saquon's not going to be playing in the regular season. Devontae Booker, they gave a decent deal to. Too important if Saquon's going to be hurt to play that much. They drafted a 2021 6th rounder who's slow, who didn't do anything in college, in Gary Brightwell. And there's a man named Corey Clement, who you might remember as an Eagles player. And he's pushing for the running back 2 job right now. He's 5'10", 220 pounds, has decent speed, the 2017 undrafted free agent, and he's a solid pass catcher and goal line back. So Corey Clement right now, as their beat reporters are making it seem, has a decent amount of usage coming his way. I mean, the rest of the backfield, if you look at it, is Gary Brightwell. Maybe they give him some run. He's not that great. Okay, but after him, you get Mike Weber, who's a 2019 undrafted free agent who's dealing with some injuries. You get Elijah Penny, who's 240 pounds, basically a fullback. Colin Jabesky, who is a fullback, and Alfred Moore, who they signed basically as a camp body because Saquon was hurt. I think you get good usage out of Corey Clement here, who's starring in camp. And then for the final 2 running backs that we can talk about, and again, there's like 20, so guys like Darwin Thompson or Dexter Williams or Dontrell Hilliard, if he can get healthy. Chris Evans, a draft pick out of Michigan, right? These guys, they can make this upper echelon tier. Trevion Williams, who was hurt in 2019 for the Bengals, he's trying to push for a running back job behind Samaje Perine. There's a lot of guys, right, that can potentially jump over the next 12 hours based on news. So be sure to track any updates that I have over on Patreon and in the Discord. But we'll go to the Rams, who they're not playing Darrell Henderson a lot, and the rest of the depth chart is Jake Funk, a 7th rounder this year, Raymond Calais, who they didn't even draft last year, and a 2020 undrafted free agent, Xavier Jones, who they're hyping up in camp. So the main ones that I want to focus on is Jake Funk, first of all, 2027th rounder. This is a guy who doesn't have a lot of college usage, only 135 carries. He did catch 23 balls in 33 games, so he's in play for me, but I like Xavier Jones more. It's just a matter of, do they view him too important to give him a half of football? Like, there's a decent chance Jake Funk can play a quarter and a half, and then he becomes just a more appealing back out of overall volume. So they're both in play. Xavier Jones, 2020 undrafted free agent. He caught, though, 72 balls in 50 games. A much more dynamic back, and he's getting hyped in camp. Raymond Calais, a little bit undersized, was not as much of a pass catcher, smaller sample in college, but he's in the player pool, just lower down. So those main backs in Justice Hill, Kylin Hill, Keyshawn Vaughn, Corey Clement, and then in LA with the Rams, you get Jake Funk and Xavier Jones. Again, I'm looking at a list right now of like another 15 running backs. Dwayne Washington, Ty Montgomery just got carted off the field the other day, but apparently he's okay. Khalil Herbert was somebody this past year who I thought was interesting as a rookie prospect heading into the draft. So all these guys will be in there ranked one way or another. Now, before we get into the most important, or at least the biggest part, because there's so many wide receivers on these teams, I want to let you know about the sponsor of the program today, and that is PrizePicks. Now, I've had about $1,000 in play yesterday. I'm going to have that again for this game upcoming today, but I want to let you know, get in on these as soon as you possibly can. So here's one that I really like. Justin Fields over 5.9 fantasy points. I mean, I think Justin Fields can have 20 rushing yards on the ground, and right there, then you just need another 4 fantasy points for this to pay off for a guy who's going to play about a quarter of football. After that, Royce Freeman. Mike Boone got carted off on 8-12. He's likely not to play in this game. Royce Freeman is by far the best running back who's going to play 1 to 2 quarters on this team. He's a good pass catching back. He was used as a pass catching back over Philip Lindsay last year. Only 2.8 fantasy points for a guy who, if he catches 2 passes, gets the over. If he catches 1, then just needs like 10 rushing yards. Yes, I'm taking the over there. So this is just 2 of the props. I have more in the Discord if you want to check them out, but I encourage you to tail this one. And if you want to use the code SAL, you will get a free bet matched up to $100 on PrizePicks for your first bet if it's your first time on the account. So use that code SAL. I encourage you, get in on this before the numbers move. If you have any questions on other props, let me know. But the player props market is the most fun market for the preseason. You don't have to build an entire massive lineup and hope that you can beat 20,000 or 100 or 500 other people. You're just saying, okay, I hope this guy gets over 2.8 fantasy points. And as Royce Freeman, the guy who's going to get most of the carries for Denver, I feel really good about that one. Go and get it while it lasts. Use the code SAL. Free money bonus up to $100. Rooskies. Yo, let's start it off in Baltimore with James Proseis, who beat reporters are saying is going to get a lot of work in this game. Baltimore banged up everywhere. Rashad Bateman had groin surgery, going to miss time. Marquise Hollywood Brown dealing with an injury. Other guys in camp are banged up right now. Miles Boykin dealing with an injury, right? So he's questionable to play. James Proseis, who was used on special teams a lot last year, apparently going to get more usage this year. In 2020 and 13 games, he only ran 14 routes because he was being used on special teams. He's a 6th rounder from 2020, and they finally want to see what they have in him. Also, Deion Kane is banged up in camp, so lots of upside there. Tylan Wallace, somebody who had a massive career in college and then had his ACL torn. So there was some concerns there. His brother had like 2 ACL tears, and they thought maybe this runs in the family. So he fell in the draft, but he's a 2021 draft pick. He had 3 straight years at Oklahoma State of a 24+% target share, a massive 2018 breakout campaign. Tylan Wallace, also in Baltimore, is on my radar. This next guy I actually really like because I've always liked him in the NFL, and now Tua is just targeting him nonstop. And if Tua plays a quarter and a half to 2 quarters in this preseason game, Albert Wilson is going to see some targets. Nonstop, all you see in camp is Albert Wilson target a deep touchdown. Albert Wilson, I like a good amount. He played in the preseason in 2019. He played in just 1 game for Miami, ran 5 routes. If there is news, and right now he's not an elite priority play, but if there is news that Tua will play 2 quarters and so will most of the starters, I don't think Wilson's a starter, meaning that he could play with Tua and then also play some after that. Some nice upside there for playing time for Albert Wilson. Now, this one is a little bit of a deep target, and it could pay off for us, especially if you're trying to do anything in terms of some of the correlation. I don't really think it matters too much in the preseason, but Rodney Adams for the Bears, apparently he has been the guy that, and this is beat reporters are saying on Twitter, the guy that Justin Fields is targeting the most right now. He's a 2017 5th rounder. He is right now solid speed, 6'1", about 190 pounds coming out. The problem is, though, he has no pedigree. He never really impressed in college. His senior year, he had 822 yards, the most that he had. Any other year, it wasn't that great. So it's interesting. Like, he's doing good in camp with Justin Fields, who seems comfortable with him. Probably not going to make the team and did nothing in college. So sort of a dark horse. See if there's a narrative there that you believe. I think it's an interesting play, at least early on. Now, this is a guy I really like. I compare him to Quez Watkins for what's happening in the preseason right now. And we saw Quez Watkins had a really nice game. Should have had 2 touchdowns in that game, right? He had the 1 touchdown on the screen from Joe Flacco. Fast as hell. 75-yard, or was it 89-yard touchdown? We love that. We had him as the #1 play over on Patreon that day. So it was fantastic, and he should have had another one if Jalen Reagor or Jalen Hurts didn't overthrow him. I compare this guy to him because these guys are getting similar camp buzz for their team. KJ Osborne. Now, right now, this team is banged up. They lost so far BZ Johnson for the year. They had to sign D.D. Westbrook, and he's still recovering from a knee injury. KJ Osborne has been lighting up Vikings camp. He was a 2020 5th rounder, and he has good size. He's 6 foot. He weighs 206 pounds right now, came out at 203 pounds, and in college, he had a 22% target share. He'll play some in the slot, some on the outside. I like KJ Osborne a lot. I'm just going to be tracking news on, is he too important now because they're down so many receivers to actually play into the second half? We'll have to see, and I'll update it on Patreon. Another guy who over the last week or 2 is generating camp buzz is Kylin Johnson. They're expecting all these Jacksonville quarterbacks, there's 4 of them, to play a quarter each. Lawrence, and then all the guys after that, Gardner Minshew, so on and so forth. Kylin Johnson is a massive body wide receiver. He's 6'6", 222 pounds. So jump ball, possession, red zone, he's going to be involved everywhere. A 2020 5th rounder, nice college career at Texas. Kylin Johnson, who actually had usage last year with Gardner Minshew and Jake Luton and the quarterbacks in Jacksonville, I think he's going to be nice in the preseason this year. Just a massive fucking body. Go get you some Kylin Johnson. Now, we have to see what happens. At the time of this recording, Elijah Moore's MRI has not come back yet. Denzel Mims, he had food poisoning, and all the beat reporters and everybody's piling on, oh, victory lapping Denzel Mims stinks. I don't know why everybody's shooting down this guy, like this guy's career. I don't understand. Second-year player out of Baylor, maybe not one of the best draft picks last year because he would have gone earlier, but a solid wide receiver to be taken in the second round by the Jets. He gets food poisoning, it comes out now, loses 25 pounds. That's why in OTAs he wasn't running with the first team. It was Kylin Cole because he was fucking sick and trying to rehab. He's only gained 10 pounds of that back, so that's why the start of his camp was bad. But this last week or so, he's been doing well in camp. And now he's back up on the depth chart to wide receiver 3 or 4, right there with Elijah Moore. And Elijah Moore's now banged up, so maybe Denzel Mims is too important to play that much, but I would expect at least a quarter out of him for a superior talent, in my opinion, than the defenders going up against him. And just in general, stop bashing this guy Denzel Mims. The man got food poisoning. Everybody's saying he sucks all of a sudden. This guy's 22 years old, and all of Twitter and all the beat writers want to pile onto him. Relax, calm down, do something else. This is a blast from the past, and I'm not sure how much I believe it, but apparently the Green Bay Packers, who they signed at the beginning of last year, Devin Funchess, and then got hurt and missed the entire season, apparently he is going to see a decent amount of time. He might as well be a tight end at this point, 6'4" and 232 pounds, but they said they're going to run him out there for a decent amount of the time as he's trying to make the roster, probably will, as the wide receiver, 5 or 6, right in that range. But Devin Funchess, he's on the cut bubble. Apparently, he's going to get a good amount of run, not only in the first half, but the second half. Good amount of time with Jordan Love he's had in camp. Devin Funchess, another name to mention. And now there's a long laundry list, right? Josh Palmer, a rookie. Tutu Atwell, a rookie. There's guys like Tristan Jackson, who apparently is going to get a good amount of run. There's veterans like Willie Snead, the rookie Jalen Darton, second-year player Tyler Johnson, both for Tampa Bay. Wide receivers are standing out. Auden Tate, who's been a preseason hero, jump ball monster. Anthony Schultz, a rookie. Donovan Peoples-Jones, second-year player. All these guys are in my tiers right now, and I'm going to move them up based on any news that we get. Laquan Treadwell having a good camp. Daz Newsome for the Bears, he's a rookie. Amir Smith-Marset, he's a rookie, right? Kawan Baker, all these guys. So they're all in there. If you're like, where is this guy? Where's this guy? They're in my tiers. But as of the news we have of this recording, they're not as much of a priority. The final guy I'll talk about is Van Jefferson. The starters are not expected to play. Those starters are Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and Deshaun Jackson. After those starters who are not expected to play, there's only 5 wide receivers currently on the depth chart and healthy. 5 to play 4 quarters. 5. And Van Jefferson, a second-round rookie from last year, who's fast, who's big at 6'2" and 220 pounds, is going to be the best wide receiver on the field for whoever the quarterbacks are that are going to be throwing the football around, out, like Bryce Perkins, the mobile guy, out this week for the Rams on Saturday. So Van Jefferson, maybe he's too important and they take him out early, but there's only 5 guys, and he's by far the best option for them. So Van Jefferson this weekend could be in for a big week if he just gets the time. A lot of other wide receivers to discuss and talk about. If you're enjoying this video, if you're getting a lot of value from it, hit the like button. Appreciate that. Any questions, leave them down below in the comment section. Let me know in the comments if you're still here, who is your favorite wide receiver that you want to play on this preseason slate? Let me know. Alrighty, we'll finish it up with tight ends. I think there's currently about 15 to 16 tight ends in play. I'll discuss 4 of them, and you can see the rest over on Patreon. The first one is Harrison Bryant. You're probably not going to see a lot of Njoku, who's dealt with injuries, or Austin Hooper. Bryant, the third guy up, who had a multi-touchdown game for the Browns last year. He's a 2024 rounder, and last year alone, he had a 10% target share. Multiple touchdowns, over 200 yards receiving. That's pretty good as a rookie who was a part-time player. Harrison Bryant, who had a great college career, expect good usage out of him. Next up, if we go over to Kansas City, they have a very shallow tight end room. We're not expecting much run out of Travis Kelce, which leaves 3 tight ends. One of them is Blake Bell, a 2015 4th rounder who's mainly a run blocker for them. After that, you have Evan Bayless, who's a 2017 undrafted free agent, hasn't played any football since 2017. And then you have the 2021 5th rounder, Noah Gray, who in 35 college games had 105 receptions, about 3 receptions per game. Noah Gray for the Kansas City Chiefs looks to be in a very good opportunity to see targets, routes run, and upside. Next man up as we go to the Green Bay Packers room. You have Joshua DeGura in this tight end room, who's basically a run blocking halfback that took in the 3rd round for whatever reason last year. Robert Tonyan, not expected to play much. Mercedes Lewis on the depth chart re-signed, basically a run blocker, and he's 39 years old. Not expecting him to play. So what looks like a crowded tight end room actually isn't that crowded. You have another guy on the team who hasn't played football since 2018. You have another guy who was basically a fullback last year in Daphne. So what is this leaving? Really not much for the tight ends except for Jay Sternberger, who's been hurt in the past for them beginning of the year. He was a 2019 3rd rounder. He was arguably the best tight end, or one of the best tight ends, if he would have came out in 2020. In that age group that he just came out a year earlier. He had 48 catches, 832 yards, and 10 touchdowns, an 18% target share, and a pretty nice conference in college. Jay Sternberger for the Packers, a 3rd tight end option for you. And then I can't go through this video without talking about the XFL hero, the XFL MVP, who in 2020 also ran 103 routes when he transitioned from the XFL to the NFL, saw 20 targets. I expect 2 to 4 drives for Donald Parham, the XFL legend Donald Donald Parham. I like him a good amount. Now, there's a lot of other names. Trey McKinney, a rookie. Bryson Hopkins, a second-year player. Matt Bushman, I believe, a rookie. Colby Parkinson, second-year player. Brevin Jordan, a rookie. All these guys. Kowal Waring for the Texans. So all these guys are here. Jesse James recently signed. And then you could also talk about some veterans. Maybe Mike Gesicki plays a quarter and a half, right? So a lot of things we could talk about. 2019 tight end, preseason Hall of Fame player, the best player in all of preseason 2019, Tanner Hudson for Tampa Bay. They've been saying negative things about his pass blocking, but he can definitely catch balls. So all those guys will be ranking them and giving you the tiers on Patreon a couple hours before the games start on Saturday. Thank you so much. This is 10 full games, 43 pages. How many pages? 34 pages of notes, all on Patreon. This was a lot. I'm tired. We only got to do this 2 more weeks. It's a ton of fun, though, especially when we live stream and do these videos. Thank you for tuning in. Any questions, let me know. And again, question of the day, who's your favorite wide receiver play on this slate? Before you go, if you could like and subscribe, I greatly appreciate that and you. And check out our sponsors of the program, PrizePicks. Take that over on Royce Freeman before it's too late and Justin Fields. Get yourself some nice money. Use the code SAL for a free $1 bonus. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? I'll see you all in the next one. We'll have a video up for the Sunday Showdown slate and even more football as the days go on. Peace out, gang, and I'll see you in the next one.